Two big things. I'm not going to be on here long. I've been up since 2:30 in the morning, so I'm tired. I did not wake up that early on purpose. I got up 2 hours before I meant to, and I was afraid to go back to sleep. But Brandon Bussey's net until further notice. I'm dead serious about that. Every single time that this kid has played, he's impressed me. As far as what you do with whoever the other goalie is going to be, leave Freddie and PK to battle it out. It's all you really have left to do at this point as far as that goes for the time being. Net is Bussey's to lose. Jordan Staal needs to stay on power play one, even if you got to find somebody to pick up some of his minutes on the penalty kill. Jankowski did fine when he was on the penalty kill tonight. So you got a viable option there if he stays in the lineup and KK's out. But you got a plethora of capable penalty killers on this team. They can make it work without Jordan Staal so that his minutes can stay on power play one. I've seen enough. It's got to be his crease to lose. I don't know if it's scientific or if it's observational or maybe I'm just seeing it this way. And I see some of you in the comments saying the same thing. I'll get to those. This team appears to play with a significantly higher amount of confidence when Bussey's in net compared to Kochekov and Anderson right now. If you want to give Brandon Bussey a test, he starts 2 of the next 3 games. If, win the one in Philadelphia, definitely win the one in Washington. And I think I've seen enough. The Hurricanes are one of those organizations that doesn't get first overall generational talent picks, but when it comes to catching lightning in a bottle, i.e. Aho, Slavin, and now Bussi, not many teams do that. So I'm like, that game went about how I was expecting it to go. Not a ton of time doing north-south stuff. Once one team gained the zone, they stayed there for a while. It took Carolina a little bit to really figure it out, and as the game went on, it seemed like they sustained offensive zone time more and more and more. And the times where they were the most threatening is where I expect them to be the most threatening. You come out for the first period, and they weren't flat, and they started to kind of take over a little bit more as the game went along. What you really want to look for with the Hurricanes is that as you get closer to the end of a period, the Hurricanes should have a pretty big edge as far as energy and attrition go. Intermission comes up, the reset button gets hit for both teams, so it'll be a little bit more even when they come back out for the next period, as in terms of their abilities to play against each other, be energetic, be fast, and all that type of stuff. So there's that. But as a period goes on, Carolina should take over. Same thing, third period, intermission. Everyone resets. You go back out there. Things are a little bit more even, but then Carolina starts to take over as the game goes on. I was expecting this to be a 3-2 win. Or a 3-2 game, I should say. I wasn't entirely convinced Carolina was going to win, and that wasn't far off. So, Jack, I'm sorry I forgot your last name, one of our followers who said 4-1 win. You called it to a T. Good job. So, Will, I am so sorry to hear that because I don't eat stuff like that very often anymore. So, if I were to get Bojangles and they didn't put my damn biscuit in there, oh, oh, I'm gonna end up being a fucking TikTok sensation because I'm gonna go back in there and yell at somebody that I've yelled at somebody over a Crunch Wrap. I'll sure as hell do it over a Bojangles biscuit. That don't play with my damn Bojangles. And if you forget my honey mustard, I might burn the place down. Straight up. But let me get through the comments here. Let's go. Hop on the bus. I'm on it, dude. He made saves tonight that I don't think Coach Kochekov and Anderson have been making consistently. And I like both those guys. I have no ill will against any of them. But right now, the thing in the equation that's getting it done the most is Bussi. He has been, when in the lineup, he's been Carolina's best player overall, if you're talking out of everybody. Consistently, I think the best forward 5-on-5, you're going to laugh at me, I think it's been Carrier the last few games. He's the only one that I feel like I wasn't pissed off at the other night. Defense, Gostisbehere, by far, has been the best one lately. He's really been picking up the slack on the defensive side of things, especially since Slavin's been out. But he's also got 22 points in 20 games. So there's that too, I believe. I believe it's 22-20. But what's up, Lackey? Really looking like it's Bussi's cruise to lose, and a good start on Thursday could confirm that. He needs to start the game on Thursday. That's going to be a big test for him. You need to. Things are going well. See what you got with him. Keep going until the wheels come off, and if they don't come off, just keep driving. Daniel, what's up, buddy? On one hand, wouldn't mind seeing Bussi on Thursday so he can have a real test against a good team, but also Freddie needs to play to have a chance to get back on track and not just sit there. I understand, but I would wait until Saturday to start Freddie because you can get Bus in there now. Let him go ahead and get another start because, like, Freddie's not going to play forever. Now you're looking at, like, you're looking at Bussi being more than just a run-of-the-mill waiver claim. Like, you're looking at this guy potentially being your future. That's how well he's playing. And it makes sense why it took him so long to make it to the league, considering, you know, he was drafted into Boston's system when they still had Tuukka Rask and Jaro Halak, I believe. Like, he was there for a while before he went to Florida, and then ultimately Carolina got him off waivers. And honestly, that would be some sick-ass revenge to, you know, see Carolina beat Florida in the playoffs with Bussi, and that would make my day. They would melt. All 5 of their fans would melt. Let 31 and 52 split Philly, especially if 32 ends up playing in Washington. You know what? That's not a bad idea either. I think it depends on how that game goes. If Bussi plays in Washington and wins, then, you know, you've started to turn things around at that point, because this game was, I think, more critical than people realize. If Carolina continues on this trend, because I was very happy with how they played tonight. If Carolina continues on this trend, you won't have to think about, you know, come March, you won't have to think about, oh shit, did that 2 points that Carolina didn't get tonight, even though luckily did get it. But just speaking hypothetically, you don't have to worry about, oh, is that 2 points going to come back to haunt the Canes? And if you win against Washington, that's another time you can say that's 2 points that, or maybe just one, but, you know, 2 points that you don't have to worry about. You go and you split things with Philly, or ideally you want to win both. Probably not going to happen, though. Let's be realistic about it. But win one, lose another in overtime, you got 3 points, and, you know, you've got a stranglehold on the season series at that point, because you would be 2-1-1. So, or 2-0-2. Yeah, it would. Yeah, 2-0-2, I believe. Yeah. No, it would be 2-0-1. Either way, something like that, just to make sure that you come out ahead on the season, because the season series is going to be important against all the Metro teams, because that's tie-breaking criteria. And with the way the standings are right now, that very well could be a factor in 3 months. So we got to keep that in mind too. Slumped, what's up, bud? Bussi elevates the team, it seems. Yes. I feel like that's what I'm seeing. I see a completely different team when Bussi's in that. I really do. And the patience that he plays the puck with, it's not something you normally see an NHL goalie who's early in his time in the NHL do as well as he did. There was one play near the end of the game where he came out to play one, waited for it to get into the trapezoid, and where a lot of goalies, one of ours included, a particular Russian one, would just try to play it immediately and rim it around. He looked over his shoulder, he took that extra second and then fired it around the boards and made sure that there was nobody who could get to it first. He didn't make a panic play, he made a patient one, and that's what you need. Robert Thomas goal too. I need Robert Thomas on the Hurricanes. Like seriously, like, you bring Robert Thomas in, I'm back on planning the parade. I'm dead serious, but I don't think St. Louis is going to let him go, because they already said that they would listen on pretty much anybody except Thomas, Snuggerud, and somebody else. I can't remember who, but I saw it earlier. But Thomas and Snuggerud, they said they wouldn't listen on. I'm not interested in Jimmy Snuggerud, even though I do like him. I enjoyed watching him play at World Juniors. But yeah, I can't remember who else St. Louis said they weren't willing to let go of, but Lewis, what's up? Staal out here showing us what kind of things the power play needs. Yeah, he's a catalyst for that power play succeeding. One of the simplest, most effective players you have on the team is doing simple, effective things to pull that power play out of the gutter, and that's Jordo. So, Staal running, yeah, absolutely. It's not a small sample size anymore. 1/8 of the season in games played, and he's 9-1. The net belongs. Yes, that's his net. How was your dinner? I think I could have eaten anything and been satisfied, considering I took 51 hours off from eating and I'm about to do it again. So I stuffed my face. I had fries too. They weren't in the picture because they were still in the air fryer. But I'm gonna do it again. I'm probably gonna fast through tomorrow until Thursday night. I'm probably gonna do it again. But yeah, Bojangles leaving out your biscuit. That's unacceptable behavior. Can't stick around long. Just here to wish you a good evening, dude. Thank you. I appreciate it. My honey mustard got forgot tonight. Nuke them. Nuke the bastards. That's a cardinal sin. That's a crime. That should be a felony. Forget my honey mustard. Who the fuck you think you are? Forgetting my honey mustard. Might as well just not giving me my food at all. It's not even the same meal without the honey mustard. It's not. It's not. Like there is not, and honey mustard is so versatile. It's like you get the chicken, whether it's the tenders or the 3-wing deal, whatever, pick your poison. And you get your fries and you get your biscuit. And all three of them dip perfectly into that honey mustard. Honey mustard is like the most versatile sauce ever. So yeah, that you got to have that. But my favorite thing tonight, we got a Guy Fieri's Chipotle sauce, and I ate that with my wings and my fries. That's good stuff. And I had some queso too. So I was happy because I had chili cheese fries the other night, but I didn't eat them all. So I think Jankowski's stank flip was a master stroke too. Both lines were more balanced. Yeah, you kind of had to do that considering everyone who's out. The 2 versus 4 on the wall at the end of the game was sick. Yeah, and the fans appreciated it too. That was great. Grayson, what's up, bud? We needed this win so bad. Not a fan of the first period, but the second period was, to me, was okay. His third period was good. I was happy with the first period because they didn't come out flat. They didn't play the greatest period of hockey, but they didn't come out there and give up a goal on the first shot because when they've been giving up goals early lately, yeah, you can blame the goaltending to some extent, but just like you need your goalies to bail you out, sometimes you need your defense to bail your goalies out. So they weren't getting that from either end. So a lot of it was on the team in front of them too. I want to see if Rod sticks with some of the line changes he made tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if he did or didn't. Either way, honestly. Stankoven, his skill set as far as trying to develop him at center, okay, think of it this way. You call a new guy up or you draft a guy. The first people you place him with just so he can start getting used to things is usually your third or your fourth line guys. I think in circumstances like that, Stankoven will develop better into that because as history has shown, you can't have too many qualified centers because the Hurricanes barely have enough to function. So I think that would be favorable, but that's where I'm hoping that, maybe there's something on the trade market that we just don't see as fans yet, that Tulski has already concocted something to get that done because, with Bussi playing the way he is, if he sticks with this, you can cross that problem off the list as far as needing a starter. But honestly, if the playoffs started tomorrow and I'm in charge, Bussi's in net, I'm dead serious. And I'm not one to just go with the new guy just because he's the new shiny toy. He's legitimately the best goalie the Hurricanes have right now. That's from an observational and a statistical standpoint. He is the best one. So I'm not changing that. Ethan, what's up, buddy? Not sure if this is unrealistic, but that is an A-rated game for Svech. I'd prefer him as excel as a power forward, Swiss Army knife. In my opinion, the hopes of 40 Tuck Svech are gone, but the new wrinkle in his game is huge. Yeah, I'm totally fine with this. Svechnikov's been trying to reinvent his game since the ACL tear, and tonight was one of those nights where I feel like he really exemplified playing that power forward, get to the front of the net. Not so much the speed and power skating type thing, but using his frame and, slowing down plays, making plays that are smarter, not harder in a lot of situations where he can't really just power his way through like he used to. Totally good with that. Do you think PK's last year to prove himself he can be a 1A? If Bussi keeps playing this way, that ship has sailed. Unfortunately. For him anyway, it's been a long time coming for, that the net was up for grabs. It was going to be either this season or next season potentially where it was like, all right, here's the opportunity. Whoever's the best available is going to get it. And right now, Bussi's proven that. What's up, bro? 278253 slash 2022 or slash 22 line win. Maybe when he gets back. I mean, I could see that working out. The only thing that I worry about is how much faster Ehlers is than KK. That could be damn, if Ehlers was a capable center, I mean, he's got the speed for it. I just don't know, and he's good enough defensively, but he's too late in his career to switch from wing to center. It's too late for that for him. But you know, like I'm surprised he isn't someone who could play that position with his skill set. But in Winnipeg, they didn't really have the center shortage issues that Carolina has had, not during most of Ehlers' tenure there. So Colby, what's up, pal? Feels like us being right catch has caught teams off guard while trying to get chances given the pressure with the defensive plays. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen any of the streams I've done lately, but I actually talked about that where I looked at there's only two other full right goalies in the league, and that means you catch with your right hand. There's only two. It's Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren, and they both play for Washington. And we looked at their numbers, and I think that Logan Thompson is near or at the top as we speak. And last I looked, he and Charlie Lindgren are both in the top 35 in the entire league. And considering you essentially have 64 goalies in the league at any given time, that's really damn good. And I think that does throw guys off because you spend your time practicing, more than likely anyway, against a goalie who has a normal setup. You spend your time playing against guys who have a normal setup, and then it kind of throws you off when what traditionally works when you shoot on a guy on a blocker side, on the traditional blocker side, is getting snared. So I had Chick-fil-A sauce at home, so I did a sinful crossover. Any other sauce with Bojangles chicken does not work. I don't know, man. Chick-fil-A sauce is pretty versatile. Oh, and if you want a less or a more healthy version of it, there's this one brand. I forget the name of the brand, but it's called Cluckin' Sauce. It's literally the exact same thing as Chick-fil-A sauce, but with less sugar, and I think it tastes better. I love that. I use that on wings, grilled chicken thighs, like you name it. Like it's very versatile, really good with fries. This is turning into a food show. I am considering starting a food channel though. I'm going to call it Burgers tonight. I'm seriously thinking about it where I just go and review food, but I also don't eat nearly as much as I used to. So I would upload like once a month. I don't really go out to eat anymore. I've turned back into a gym rat too. So Joker, what's up, buddy? KK2C. I wish that would work out, man. I just don't think that Rod's ever gonna Rod and him or he's not gonna fit the way that Rod wants him to play. KK for Selke. KK for back in the lineup first would be nice, but I think he was just sick tonight. Burgers tonight, great win from the boys tonight. No, I didn't have burgers, but they still won. I'm saving the burgers probably for Thursday when they play against Washington. I'm not giving up on Stankoven at center like some, but we may just have to move him to 4C to develop and find a 2C. Yeah, if you put him with Robinson and Hall for now, gives him more favorable matchups and line mates who I think would be better suited to insulate him and help him learn that position. I really do. Because imagine this, like I'm just using a name. Imagine your center depth is Aho, Thomas, Staal, and Stankoven. You go from having one of the lower end center depth charts among contenders to one of the best ones. You don't have a superstar in the traditional sense, but superstars are, they're not that many of them. So if that's your center depth, yeah, you don't have, McDavid or McKinnon, but like as far as a 1, 2, 3, 4 punch, you don't get much better than that. You really don't. And keep in mind, Carolina's best and most consistent player has been out since the third period of the second game of the season. And that's Slavin, and he's a really big, really big factor in, a lot of the success that they've had in their own end. And he's not been around lately, and they're still, for the most part, getting it done. So Line Blender sparked something, I guess. Robbie's goal was meant. Yeah, that was beautiful. It really was. Like, I was starting to fall asleep, not because the game was boring, because it wasn't. I was just exhausted, and that jolted me back awake. Caver says, I think after this win, the biggest problem we have is 2C and center depth in general. If Bussi can continue play like this and such as well, we need a 2C bad. Yeah, 2C. AJ, what's up, buddy? Our Bussi was popping tonight. Keep the Bussi hot and let it ride. I agree. I agree about PK. We've been saying for the last 2 years, this year he needs to prove himself or he's just young. I agree that ship has sailed. Yeah, that ship has sailed. It just needed it needed to just be pushed out of the harbor. I remember I started the channel in April, May 2023, somewhere around then. Part of the reason why I did, I thought I wasn't going to be able to play hockey anymore, but luckily my knee ended up not being as bad as I thought it was. But I wanted to have some sort of involvement with the game, and I remember telling my friend Groza, who I know in real life, he follows me on here, and I told him about like all this stuff that I didn't like that a lot of hockey YouTubers and media did, and he's like, "Well, why don't you consider starting your own channel?" And I was like, I never thought about that. And I actually ran the name for it by him. I had a few ideas, and the warning take was the first one I listed. He's like, yeah, that'll work. Do that. That one looks good. So that's what I went with. And another reason was I had a project manager who I still talk to. He's a big Rangers fan, really awesome guy. He, him and I were talking about something one day. I don't remember what it was. And he said, you might have a future doing like hockey commentary. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Most of those guys, they played like real hockey. I haven't. Caroline Caniac says, sorry, I don't care what anyone says. Robbie Ehlers, Blake, faceoffs don't make a damn. It right now, I mean, God, I mean, Ehlers has the speed. He has the defensive awareness. Like, I just don't know if it would be more of a mental thing with him. He's got the other stuff in his toolkit. If he wasn't as far along in his career as he is, I would 110% want to try that. That's the only reason I don't want to, is because he's kind of he's up there. Like in hockey years, he's that's the only reason why I wouldn't want to try that. But on paper, it's a great idea. But in practicality, I just don't think it would work, just because, I think Ehlers is 28 now. So he's kind of set in his ways. But back to your point for a second, Daniel. When I started the channel, I remember 23-24 season came around and I said, all right, this is Kochekov's year to prove that he can do it. Played well for a while, fell off a cliff. Same thing happened again last season. Played well for a while, fell off a cliff. You never really found that consistency with him. And I remember one of the things that kind of really shook my confidence in Kochekov to take that step was the New Year's Eve game, because I remember exactly where I was. We went to Fort Lauderdale for New Year's, me and my girlfriend did, and she was already asleep, and I was watching. The Canes were in Columbus that night, and that's when Kochekov leaned his head out of the crowd. I don't know why, but like the post is right here, and he's leaning like he was all the way to hell over here. And I forget who it was that ran into him. It wasn't his fault. Whoever ran into him was Kochekov's. It was boneheaded, and he got injured. And I'm kind of like, I'm starting to have my doubts. That was around the time that I started going, buddy, the reason you got birdies flying circles around your head, you brought that on yourself. It was like when, one of the first times I turned my dog loose in my mom's backyard because it's fenced in so I could let him run around. He went around the corner really fast and he ran into this big ass oak tree. And I was like, oh shit. And I ran over to him because he kind of like conked himself really good. And I'm like, hey buddy, are you okay? And he like got up, he shook it off and he just went back to running. That's what I think of when I see Kochekov do some of the stuff he does in net. It's okay when a dog runs into a tree. You don't need Kochekov running into a post and then getting his head like obliterated by somebody's leg or knee or whoever it was that hit him. But that said, admittedly, I'm a Freddie fan, so I'm not ready to give up yet. But I do. But do you think he'll be able to bounce back? Hasn't seemed the same since the State Fair trip. If he was younger, I would definitively say he will. But Father Time catches up with everybody. It might have just finally got him. I mean, it happens to everyone. I mean, one of the biggest reasons I'm not ready to totally give up on him, and I'm always going to like Freddie regardless. He's been a large part of the team's success over the last few years. More so than anything, one of the reasons I'm not wanting to give up is because of how well he played in the Colorado game. Because if it wasn't for him, that game, Carolina loses that game by 4 or 5 goals at least. So that's the other thing to consider when it comes to Freddie. So it's not like we haven't seen him play well recently. It's just not consistently there. But as far as out of the 3 goalies you have, who the best one is right now, it's Bussi. It really is. So Ethan Reed says tonight in the game between Columbus, Ohio, and Raleigh, NC, I learned that Florida is the capital of hockey. ESPN is cheeks. Yeah, I don't get what the Florida simpage is anymore. Like when we went there to Fort Lauderdale, part of the reason we went during New Year's, or part of the reason we chose to go down there during New Year's, was because the Hurricanes were playing the Panthers. That is a quiet building, dude. Like there were a lot of people there that I don't even think that they were paying attention to the game. Like everyone around it. And my friend Sam Driscoll, who you guys know from the Caniac Report, the one who used to be on there, not the Sam that's still on there. They one of his friends was there, and me and my girlfriend were there, and we were just kind of like, we noticed that people were just not super engaged with it, and the whole thing with Kachuk and Kokaniemi happened, and they were all chanting, "Ref, you suck." And I'm like, for what? Kachuk tripped him. What? Like, what the okay. But yeah, and then all the ones that came out of the woodwork on X that were talking about how Gustav Forsling's better than Slavin. Spoiler alert, he's not. Carolina Caniac said they have enough practice with face-offs with the regular centers being thrown out. Let's see 50, 27, 53. I think you could do something different other than 50. I think I'd put Hall up there before I'd put Robinson up there if you wanted to go that route. Yeah, I don't want to bang the drum on Ehlers playing center too hard just because, like I said, he's just kind of past that point in his career, I think. 17 out of 29 games of the power play goal allowed this year. Slavin will improve that. It was so rough to see for the kill. Yeah, the kill should be better even without him. Burgers tonight should be the next T-shirt idea. That's on the list. Don't worry. God damn, there's a lot of y'all commenting in here. I'm gonna have to get another water. Ugh. Come on. Hold up. My mouse does this weird thing where it likes to disconnect out of nowhere. There, now it's back. I need to get a new one. I think that the cable's frayed on it a little bit. Will Park says, hard to understand why a player like Robinson was available when Carolina snagged him. You know what's funny about that? I remember thinking that he was going to be a call-up guy. I really thought he was just going to be a depth player and that he was going to start the season in Chicago, and then he ended up being a pretty important piece. And there's a brigade of people online who hate him for some reason. I'm like, I don't know what more you want from Eric Robinson. You pay him to be a grinder, and that's what he does. He does it very well. But he's a better fourth liner than most people on teams who let him go. Yeah, he fits the system really, really well. E-Rob, the GOAT, and we got him for 4 years at 1.7. Yeah, no, E-Rob's on a great deal. I'm still laughing at Shane Willis from last night. Yeah, I didn't get to watch the alumni game. I actually, the very first time they had the alumni game, I actually got to go. And what was kind of cool, but also kind of sad about it, it was during the dark ages. So, like, there were more people there for the alumni game than from the actual regular season game I was at, I think, 2 days before. Because I don't know how it is now, but back then you got in the alumni game for free. And I remember Robert Cron was there. Shane Willis was there. Hedekin. Francis played. He was still the GM at the time. Brenda Moore, obviously. Trying to remember. I think Mike Commodore was there. I can't remember who all was there. I've got the cup and I've got the little paper program handout thing that they have. Yeah, that's what's funny about it. It's hard to tell. Being held hostage in Buffalo will do that to a guy. Yeah, it can't be fun there for anybody, whether you're a great player or a depth player. It's got to suck. Nystrom made our second goal happen. Not sure if I can stomach sending him down. Will they trade Riley? I doubt they'll trade Riley. I don't want to see Nystrom get sent down, but unfortunately, it's kind of inevitable. Whether they would just waive Riley to keep Nystrom, I don't know. But you also don't want Nystrom sitting there being your seventh defenseman either. Like you want him to play. So if that means sending him back to Chicago, so be it. I do worry a little bit about him getting overcooked in the minors because the way that he's played at the NHL level, aside from special team stuff, and somebody I was having a discussion with, and one of the things I posted the other day, he made some very good points about it. He'd get, special teams time at both ends, power play and penalty kill both, and he'd probably clock a few more minutes a night if he was back with the Wolves. I don't know, man. I don't want to send him back. I really don't. but and you've already got a shortage of right-handed defensemen as it is, but you don't want Nystrom being your seventh guy. You want him to play. So that's the only problem. And anybody else on the blue line, you can't really. Nikishin won't go anywhere. Slavin's definitely not going anywhere. They just signed Miller after trading for him. He's got no trade protection for the first 2 years, but still that sets a bad precedent if you trade a guy right after you signed him. So I don't want that to happen. And I think he's playing pretty well. He's been a little bit quiet lately, but he's not playing bad, which is what's more important. You just got to be careful with it too, because you've only got 2 right-handed defensemen in your regular lineup. I know that I was talking about the thing the other day about, hey, if Sean Walker's part of the deal to maybe bring Quinn Hughes in, do you pull the trigger on it? And that's one of like 5 pieces that would be required to make that happen. And that was just food for thought. That wasn't anything I was being literal about. Freddie had that great game in Colorado and then hasn't looked the same since. Yeah, he hasn't. I hope he gets it together, but like the clock is ticking for him now with the way Bussi's playing. The only thing that can save Freddie's, starter job right now is if Bussi regresses. And we don't want that. We've been waiting for this type of opportunity for a while now to get a consistent goalie who plays the way that the Canes need him to play. And now it seems like they've got it. So Will Park says Nystrom is an NHL defenseman for sure. I like this game. Yeah. And did you notice that during the empty net sequence at the end of the game, he was out there? So like he's playing in more and more critical situations now too. Yeah, I'll be mad if we send down Nystrom. Yeah, it's just logistically, it's about the only way you can do it. Like I just don't see any other way it happens. Freddie in Colorado was absolute masterclass. Yeah, that was insane how well he played that night. He does everything right. Yeah. Ghost is the only good thing to come out of Florida hockey. I agree. Florida, quiet Raleigh NC, hockey town, simple. Yeah. I mean, I like Florida. Florida is actually like the only other place we considered moving to other than South Carolina. And we haven't ruled out going there eventually because I like the state of Florida. I enjoy the weather. People there, like, depending on where you're at, sometimes they're like crazy lunatics, but in a lot of cases, they'll leave you alone. Truth be told, that's part of the reason I didn't move back to North Carolina is I felt like that I wouldn't really be left alone there. And, big cities are just not for me. That's why I don't live too terribly close to one. So I had my share of big city time and I didn't like it. Like when I was getting out of the Navy, I tried desperately to get a job in the Virginia Beach, Chesapeake area so that I could stay there because there was plenty of stuff to do there and I wasn't near any true major metropolitan area. So that's what I was trying to avoid. Honestly, having Nystrom making Walker redundant, sort of just Nystrom's playing so damn good. Yeah, that's why I was like, if you wanted to move Walker out, you could, but I don't see any need to do it. It was just an idea. 22 people in the YouTube. I think that's the most I've ever seen on YouTube. Yeah, well, see, what's funny about it is on my thing here, I don't know if that updates in real time because like I've got 192 on X and 26 on YouTube right now. So Wizard says Robinson might unironically be our best breakaway scorer. He seems to pop most of his transition grade A's. Yeah, he does. Tage Thompson, please. I'm 50-50 on Thompson. I've not given up on getting Robert Thomas. I'm not there yet. I'm not ready to call it quits on that. 71, 22, 50 in that order. Fourth line. Stank learns the center game with 2 bigger bodies while he and Hall feed Robbie firing missiles on his natural side, gets focal vibes. Yeah. Good point. Nystrom is adjusting well, but entering a playoff series, you are going to take Mike Riley's experience over Nystrom. More than likely, yeah. That's why I think that. And plus, you can send Nystrom back down, and you don't have to worry about him going through waivers because he's on an ELC, so he's not waivers eligible anyway. So that's the other thing with it. Ehlers is almost 30, by the way. Yeah. Okay. I thought he was only 28. Okay. He's got some damn, even when his speed does start to taper off, he'll still be faster than 95% of the league. J_J. I'm just going to call you Jay, bro. Was at the game tonight. Svets was noticeably good and Ghost continues to play incredibly well. Bussi basically won the game for us. Should have been the first star. Yeah, in my mind, he was first star, but that play from Nystrom to get us the goal was nice. Yeah, Nystrom is one of those guys. He's great defensively, and he's got this really subtle playmaking touch that comes up clutch like it did tonight. But all right, guys, that is going to be it for me this evening. I will probably do actual damage report tomorrow where I break things down. I'm going to be working all weekend, so I will not be doing it for the Philadelphia game. Thursday, I should be able to cover the Capitals game, though. So, guys, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate everything. Glad that the Canes got the big win they needed tonight. This is going to be an important week. The job's not done. I mean, it's not done in the grand scheme of things. You got a long way to go in the regular season. But as far this week right here, like I posted about on X, this is very pivotal because it's nothing but 4-point swings. You have a season series that will more than likely be decided this weekend, and you got a leg up in one that may be relevant later with the win tonight. And, you know, the only team ahead of you in the Metropolitan Division that you have games in hand on, you're playing them on Thursday. So all that there. One last one here. Caver says a bunch of players right now quoting about how good Bussi's been. Freddie crying in a corner. Yeah, I hate that for him, man, because he in the grand scheme of things, he's been good for the Canes. He really has. It's just, it's a results business. You got to win games. And right now, Bussi's given the team the best chance to win. So, guys, thank you very much for joining me. I will see you tomorrow.